Charles Palmer here. Is C-Rob really there?
I am. I am busily commenting on a vulnerability disclosure policy for another working group.
Ah, okay. Busy man.
Good morning.
Hello.
Hello. We'll give everyone a few more minutes to join, but it looks like we're getting people filing in, which is good.
Groovy.
Hey,
Hello.
hello. Sorry.
It's okay. Good to see your face.
Thanks. Yeah, just moving from meeting to meetings, and
That's exactly what I was doing right before this. Yep.
yeah,
Moved from Teams to Zoom.
Yeah, here's Avishai. We were both in a different meeting.
Yeah. Hello, Avishai.
Hey,
All right, everyone. We're just going to give it till I think 4 or 5 after the hour for other people who are finishing up a meeting right before this to join.
And I'm sorry, now, was it on me to update, the repo? I can't remember.
Avishai did it. And thank you, Avishai.
Oh, okay, cool.
Oh, and let me pull up our agenda doc. Our agenda notes. Where's the darn thing? All right. There it is. Okay, I'm going to bookmark this. And I will share a link. All right, everyone, please go ahead and check out the doc. Thank you, whoever is copying and pasting from, thank you, Avishai. From last time, I'm going to go ahead and accept that suggestion. Please go ahead and add yourself to the list of attendees. All right, for those who just joined, because Zoom does weird stuff with chat, I am going to share our meeting agenda doc again, and come on in and add yourself to the attendees, and we will go ahead and get started. Okay, there we go. Abhishek, thanks for adding in the template. Do you mind adding that to the end of the doc rather than the beginning, sure. Just because I think it gets confusing. And I'll move Charles's name down here into the one for 427. All right, so there we are. I'll go ahead and switch that. Alrighty, well, let's go ahead and get started. It is 5 after. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another of our every other week meeting schedule of the OpenSSF Memory Safe Languages Special Interest Group. I know we have at least one, possibly two new people here today, so let's just do a very brief round of introductions, who you are, who you work with, and just like one sentence about your interest in this stream. So I'll go ahead and start off. I'm Nell Shamrell Harrington. I'm a principal engineer here at Microsoft. And I guess that's not here in this meeting, but I'm a principal engineer at Microsoft. I'm also a representative on the board of directors of the Rust Foundation, have a passion for memory safe languages, and am glad to be here. And let's go ahead and go with Krobe next.
Hey everybody, I'm Krobe. I work with stuff on the internet. I officially work for Intel. I'm the director of security communications, but I spend a lot of time here with Upstream at the OpenSSF and other industry groups. I lead the developer best practices working group, of which this SIG is a new and vital member of.
Let's go to, oh, go ahead.
Don't know, please.
Okay, let's go to Gabby next.
Okay, Gabby, I work at Microsoft in the developer division, mostly on systems programming language. I represent Microsoft and Microsoft France on the ISO C++ standards committee. And when I have free time, I try to write code.
Très bien. Over to, let's go to Abhishek. I'm going in order of how people are on my screen.
Hi everyone, I'm Avishai. I'm also a principal software engineer at Microsoft. I represent more the end user side of open source consumption. I work with top tier customers of Microsoft, helping them develop code. And when I don't write code, I contribute as much as I can to OSSF.
Awesome. Let's go to Jay.
Hi, I'm Jay. I work in the open source strategy ecosystem team at Microsoft. I do not write code. Although I have written some shell code back in the day for the purposes of breaking people's code. You guys are welcome. Aside from that, I work heavily here in the OpenSSF. I also sit in CISA VEX working group meetings and any other meeting I'm told to sit in. And I do my best to do work in these meetings too. I shrug.
Awesome. Thanks, Jay. Let's go to Charles.
Good afternoon. I'm a long time a believer in, got my little stuffy here. So IBM Research since forever, started ethical hacking there in the mid 90s. I had a good old time with that. Got bored real fast, started doing more advisory stuff after I was director for a while, but that's boring. You don't get to touch code. So now I do mostly fooling around with the government, trying to advise them on, yeah, that's a good idea, but it won't work, that sort of thing. And I also am a longtime professor at Dartmouth since the mid 2008, teaching software design, stuff like that. And I am an avid Rustation wannabe. I'm after it and working hard, and I've got Dartmouth convinced that we need to shoot C and go with Rust. But it's an evolution, so we're getting there. And I'm here because I spent a lot of time with the ESF, Enduring Security Framework, which is a joint industry, academia, and mostly industry and government effort to try to look around the corner. And we're working on SBOMs and everything else everybody is working on. And I'm trying to push them towards memory safe as well. So that's me. Cool. I'm in New Hampshire too. Bye.
Awesome. Let's go to Matt.
I work in the Open Technologies group in IBM. I do a lot around open source clearance and cybersecurity, and I'm wherever I can be in the OpenSSF. You heard my comments the previous call. Basically, I want to make sure that the conversation is not binary, you're memory safe or not.
Understood.
And that with all the legacy languages companies have, that we know, and I see, some things done with C and C++ and things like that, that we have a better story than like in the metrics dashboard saying you failed or you passed based upon just a language usage. Yeah.
Of course. Last but not least, Randall.
Hi, I'm Randall. I work at LF. I am manager of educational content and certifications, specifically pretty much everything that has to do with cybersecurity at this point. So, and that is my new title as of yesterday.
Awesome.
So yeah,
Congratulations.
thank you.
And it looks like we just had someone join us. Jeffrey, we were just doing a brief round of introductions and you are up.
Well, timing is everything. Hi, I'm Jeff Borick, and I work in open source at IBM. Have been involved in open source for over a decade and have been responsible for the open source license clearance or the security risk management, or rather the intellectual property risk management at IBM for the last 8 years, but I've been concerned about the overall security of the open source ecosystem. So I got involved early with the various players to help establish the 1.0 version of the OpenSSF, and happy to see it making continued progress.
Awesome. Cool. Well, very glad to have everyone here. We've got a good meeting of the minds, and let's go ahead and move on to the next item on the agenda, which is I am incapable of talking and taking notes at the same time. So I'm wondering if it's true. I'm wondering if someone might be willing to be the scribe for this meeting, and it's something we will rotate from meeting to meeting. Obviously, thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it very much. And we'll rotate it to someone else next time. All right. So first, my only agenda item was I put together some revised wording based on comments on the original wording of the a memory safe stream of the open source security mobilization plan. That is a lot of words. And I'd love if we could go through the comments a little bit. I will go ahead and share my screen if I can find the button, because it's different in Zoom than it is in Teams, which is different than it is in Discord, and Chime we're not even going to talk about. All right, here we go. All right. Can everyone see the revised text doc? Awesome. And I will bump up the text just a little bit for those who have bad eyesight, like I do. There we go. Let me just widen this a bit. Of course, it's not letting me do it. All right, we'll go down in size slightly. Cool. All right. So first comment was from Gabby regarding known memory safety vulnerabilities might better be replaced with classes of memory safety vulnerabilities. After doing some research, I largely agree with this comment. I think that would be more precise language.
Yeah, part of it is also that, I think from my perspective, I think we want to set the bar higher than, oh, we're only fixing things we know today. Supposed to, we want to fix large classes of problems that, we know are in that area.
Makes sense. Any other thoughts on this? All right. Next up, introduce known memory safety vulnerabilities that might imply purposeful action. Could you say just a little bit more about that, Charles?
Well, it goes to the same thing that Gabriel just said, is that it's introduced known. It's like they're doing it on purpose.
Understood.
Okay, that's not what I meant. I mean, that's not what I think we meant. So that's
Correct.
all. It's not a purposeful action.
All right. That makes sense to me. Next comment from Charles regarding memory leaks. Should we discern? I understand that there's certainly a technical difference between memory safety vulnerabilities and memory leaks. I'm thinking of the audience for this doc is a little challenging because I know the original audience for the original plan was high-level government executives and other things. So erred a little less on very precision targeted language. But I mean, I'm open to feedback, or yeah, I'm open to discussion on this. Gabby, over to you.
Oh, yeah, I think originally I thought, hey, that actually, it would make sense to include that. And I thought more about it, like, if we take garbage collected languages like Java or C#, they do memory leak, but not in the way they do it in C, but they still memory like garbage collector is sitting on some memory that hasn't been released for a while. That's leaking memory. And so, but I don't think we want to include those languages as the one we call unsafe by default. So after that, I'm like, I see the point, but I don't think it will clarify the thing that we want to aim at here.
Gotcha.
Yeah, if it's too much in the weeds, that's fine. It's just again, I play with some government folks, and they have put things in place like that their system has to be rebooted every 24 hours, no questions.
Understood.
And it's not because they like the startup sound. So either way, I just wanted to make that point.
That's an excellent point. I do not know how to rephrase it in real time, but I think I see what you're saying.
It's something we can continue to think on.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on who like you said, the audience. It's my first time, so I don't know.
Yeah, that's all good. We're still figuring out ourselves. Next comment from Gabby. Yeah, that was copy and paste from the original language. So I do think you're right. It rolls all these vulnerabilities and exploitations. That is an example of more precise language, which I think, regardless of the audience that this paper is intended for, would be beneficial. All right. Charles added, should refer to, oh, cool. That sounds like a wise idea.
Even though you and I would be annoyed that in their list of memory safe languages at the top, they include Rust, and in a restatement of the list at the bottom, they neglect it.
I actually think I remember seeing this when it originally came out, and
yeah,
that was flagged. Oh well.
I told them to fix. They're going to fix it. I
yeah,
danced on them.
Yep, I I'm going to use that phrase from now on. Cool. Okay. Yeah, I think this would be an excellent thing to include. And one of the things this will become more relevant, which I believe was in this doc, will become more relevant as we discuss comments later in the doc, is they emphasize switching to a memory safe by default language when possible and practical, which I've found is, again, the example, really good precision language, which I think helps many audiences understand. Any other thoughts before we move on to the next comment?
I love the reference.
Cool. And I'll ask people to raise the digital hand if you want to say something, or go ahead and unmute and say something, or raise their digital hand. Zoom is not letting me see all of the portraits of people while I'm in screen sharing mode. All right, let's take a look at this. Knowns is talking about.
Yeah, I think this comment, we were talking about it earlier.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, classes of memory safety vulnerabilities. That makes sense. All right. And then, oh yeah, switching possible / practical to possible or practical. Yes, that certainly makes sense. All right. Yeah, I agree with this comment, Gabby. One of the reactions to the original reports was some people interpreted it as saying, well, the OpenSSF is saying you should just rewrite everything in Rust, which was not the intent, at least not the original intent. But when people react to things via Twitter or via Twitter hot takes, that is something that emerged as part of it. So I largely agree with that.
Yeah, and so there was that aspect, and then there was also the aspect that people felt like the name and shame, so they didn't
Yeah.
feel like they were welcome to contribute. So and later on I had some other comment. It will instead of emphasizing the label, more emphasize what the language brings. Like, does your technology help us do this thing by default? Yes or no? If it doesn't, then well, I'm sorry. As opposed to your technology is bad.
Yeah, I agree on that. All right, rephrase as existing large code, but yes, I 100%. I agree with that one. That's better wording. 2 or 5. You're right on this. I'll go ahead and fix that. My numbering was off when I was drafting this yesterday. Yeah, and Gabby, thank you for providing the example of C++ core guidelines and specification. That is certainly something we can reference, and I think that would be useful too.
Yeah, but if it, again, aiming at, since you've mentioned you're aiming at a particular experience level, are they going to have any idea what you're talking about?
Yeah, it
I
needs
don't
to be
know.
reworded.
Okay.
I mean, would it be misleading to include a specification as a tool? When we say tools to use tools to reduce memory safe vulnerabilities, or whatever the phrasing is that we land on, would a specification fit the label of tool in that? Would it make sense for tools to include a specification?
My experience is the best way to solve a problem is blending people, process, and tools. So a spec would be a process. It
That's a
could
good
loosely
point.
be considered a tool. So I would include it.
Got it.
So Crop, you will say process and tools?
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Okay, yeah.
And then like the people part would be potentially training. We could train people on
Sure.
how to write more secure code or using other tools, whatever.
Well, we've been trying to do that for, I don't know, 20 years, but don't give up.
Don't give up.
And
Never
it's useful.
surrender.
And it is useful because I've written Rust crates where I created a API interface in it where C code or any code that uses C bindings could use that Rust code, but I need to use unsafe Rust code in order to, for that precise part, in order to do that. And it is still, someone thankfully pointed me, because I felt like I was juggling with knives. Someone thankfully pointed me to some of the standards that exist that can help do that more safely. So yeah, and that is certainly going to be a common use case, I believe. Yes, 100% on that, Gabby. I just missed that when I was adding in the new language.
So I was thinking about tools in the expansive
Yeah.
sense, like Crow was mentioning, and I applaud Crow for providing that. But I also see this as being a building block when we talk about best practices, that instead of wholesale saying you have a tool that can vet a whole application, but I think an important part of this is our memory safe libraries or incremental reusable packages.
Mm-hmm.
So if you, I know that when I worked on operating systems and device drivers, that we actually had memory safe libraries we used that made sure you didn't, go out of bounds or overreach your memory buffers. So
That's a good point.
Yep.
Cool. Charles, do you want to expand on this one a little bit?
Let's see if I can remember what I was thinking. Oh, well, this is you've written it in you've got the new product, completely new source, using a memory safe language. Regardless of what it is, do you reach out and use API libraries that may themselves have issues? I get beat up on this all the time saying, oh yeah, well, but I still got to have whatever .a, and it ain't fixed. So it's not really improving things. Again, the target audience may be unable to really grok that, so we can do what you think.
Gabby, you look like you're thinking.
Yeah, we talked about this terminology earlier, tools and process that allows us to vet something. So the question for Charles is, do you think this is one of those cases where, yes, we have dependency, we have a reasonable thing, but we still have dependency on this other legacy, what they use stuff. But do you think this is the case where we can make the case that because of the process and the tools that we're additionally applying, we're confident that we're eliminating the issue that would exist if we're just like using the legacy code uncontrolled?
Well, as a paid professional paranoid, I would never say eliminate. I would say, reduce or contain. And I mean, we're all faced with this because we have legacy code that's, really good stuff developed by really smart people over time.
Well,
And
well, in
maybe
that
we'll-
case, we're going to have to rename the SIG the memory safer. Because there is no such thing as truly memory safe.
Safe-ish.
No,
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's the stickers we all need on our laptops. Correct. Yeah, I can see that, but it is, and it does imply the need for understanding what goes into your software, which is obviously a larger conversation within the OpenSSF.
And this is really
SBOMs
more
and
like the
such.
SBOM thing, like you
Yeah,
said. So that's another
exactly.
group. So we can just punt it to them and delete my comment.
Okay. I like professionally paid paranoid. That is awesome. I want a t-shirt that says that. Cool. Jeffrey, you are talking, but we can't hear, or your lips are moving, but we can't
It's
hear
a
anything.
chapter out of the old Andy Grove playbook of just because you're paranoid doesn't mean they're not out to get you.
True. Cool. All right. And on that note, the other thing I could really use some help with, for those of you who are more in the C++ community, is recommendations on initiatives that could potentially use funding from within the OpenSSF. And we'll be coming up with a larger list of that. But I mean, there's some that I have some awareness of, such as Prosimo. There's also some other efforts, but the ones that are C++ specific, I'm much less familiar with.
Yeah, I'm supposed to be. I am the one on hook for that. And sorry, I didn't provide that on.
Oh,
on
no worries.
time.
I sent this out like yesterday afternoon, so no worries whatsoever.
So at the beginning, when we're doing introduction, I think I heard Matt, or maybe I'm confusing, who expressed the idea that, oh, well, we all have legacy codes and so forth, and safety is not a binary thing, 0-1, but more of a scale. Is that something we want to somehow reflect in the doc?
I think that would be useful.
Yeah, and I mean, it goes back to, we talked about, how this would be immediately reflected in scorecard, and then we need a scale, and we need to endorse security tooling that does scanning that can prove memory safety for different language variants. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, oh, sorry, Gabby, go ahead.
Oh, so I was just going to ask if that would be under the list of proposals, or where would that go? Sorry, I'm just trying to make sure we capture these.
Oh, I
ideas.
appreciate that. Let's put it under list of proposals now. Do you mind adding a comment to the doc along those lines, just to capture it? Yeah, I was on that note. Some language that I took out when I was redrafting from the original language was the original language said we know how to completely eliminate memory safety vulnerabilities, which that's misleading. And it's not just a precision terms. It's the last thing I want to do is create something that will provide a false sense of security, without the implying that something is completely eliminated when it's not. And yes, in anything security related, it really is not either 1 or 0. I like to use the phrase, I used to have old apartment, I had a sliding glass door in the back, which had a rod to prevent someone from forcing it open. Someone smashed through the back door when I wasn't there. So it did not prevent someone from breaking into my apartment, even though I thought it would. But anyway, that's a weird example, but largely saying I definitely agree with that.
We did, by the way, have a an early discussion with the scorecard folks about having such a memory safety check within scorecard. However, I would say that we couldn't really think at that point in time how that would actually look in scorecard. So what are we actually looking for? So maybe that is something that we can continue working on together with them, or like have a better idea on how that looks before reaching out to them again.
That makes sense. All right. Any other thoughts besides what we've discussed on this draft of the document? There will be probably multiple other drafts coming forth.
I think that currently only the original 2 sections are expanded later. However, the newer 3 that we added since the mobilization plan was drafted are still not expanded in the later text. Is that something that we want to work on?
What parts are not expanded?
Right, so investing in safer system development tool is an expansion, and moving critical software infrastructure to memory safe by default. Those are expanding, I think, the first 2 points, right? In the plan. Let me share. my
Oh,
screen.
I
Maybe that
think
would
I
be
understand.
better.
Yes, and that goes on to the 2 versus 5
Exactly.
part. Okay, yeah, I do think we should expand on the rest of those points.
And I would suggest to the group, there's going to be an effort across the foundation to do a refresh of the plan. So this group is at liberty to either, copy and paste what was there and just do minor edits. We could wholesale rewrite the whole thing, or some kind of combination between those 2 spectrums. And I would encourage us, especially since we had, some of us have had a year or so to think about this problem. Let's try to add some more precision and some more tasks to the kind of the project plan. What we are saying we would like to do, what we're proposing, what types of resources do we need? So the first year and then the beyond the first year goals. Let's try to fill that out with more of a project plan and saying, we think if we do these 6, 12, 100 actions, we're going to increase the memory security of all things in the long run. So again, let's be as ambitious as we're interested in, and let's get those rewrites in, because we'll be we have, this is the opportunity now to get that put into the next draft.
Understood. This is a significant contrast to, it doesn't contrast to it, I don't believe. Josh, whatever his last name is, AAS, head of ISRG, which is what Prosimo is under, is a member of the SIG, just not at this meeting, and has been. I don't see it contrasted. I see Prosimo as being part of an implementation of what the SIG is trying to do.
Yeah, I guess I wonder, like in many efforts, like SIGSTAR, for example, being a major one, is there a way for them to bring their work here? Especially, it looks like they've already have a lot of thought around specific tooling they're going to attack, and things like that. So I don't know if that's possible. And if we bring that, if the person does attend, if we can make that liaison type of approach to them.
All right, sorry, you mentioned
I'm staring at Jeff
SIGSTAR.
on the governance committee and Krob as well. So anyways.
If we want to engage with SIGSTAR, if that's what the group feels is that valuable, we definitely can do that.
The Prosimo link I linked, that group.
Engaging with Prosimo, we do, yeah.
Is it an official liaison? Is it?
I don't know if there's an official liaison.
I'm saying like bring the work under this foundation, or merge somehow, or create a formal relationship. Like we did we brought SIGSTAR was its own thing, and we had discussions and brought them under this foundation, for example.
Crow, I'm looking to you. on that.
It's if it's an option, it's open source. If we can dream it, we can make it happen. So if it's something the group feels strongly about, if there's value in getting that hosted underneath the OpenSSF, we certainly can reach out to the project and see. And there is a process for kind of intellectual property transfer that we could go through. So if the group would like that, if there's value into it, it helps the whole community, we certainly can pursue that.
Right.
But if we don't want to do that, we don't have to.
Well, I know it's already under the Internet Security Research Group Foundation. So I don't know. I could see that being as an option. I don't think it's necessary for the mission of the SIG.
Yeah, what I typically experience is if we're going to create advisements or standards or whatever it might be, having a formal liaison is helpful because we guarantee that somebody always reviews anything that before we output it, right?
Okay, that's
So we
fair.
have
Yeah.
semantic, same messaging, etc. So.
Okay. I think that sounds logical. Apparently I'm a Vulcan. That's not the first time I've been referred to as that. Yeah, thank you everyone. Cool. I think so. I'd be happy to reach out to Josh and talk about creating an official liaison within this group between the two of them.
That'd be awesome.
How longstanding is that Proximo entity? Is that something that's relatively recently spun up?
At least a few years. Like, I think it's been around since I started at Microsoft, which was 2.5 years ago.
And it is a very common practice for us to kind of federate and partner with other foundations or other external projects. So that's perfectly, there's precedent there. So I think that's a good idea to liaise with them.
Especially in terms of positioning it properly, right? I mean, if it's an initial outreach with the idea of exploring mutual, best interests, as well as sort of honestly kind of kicking the tires to see, is that, what is that community like really under the covers beyond what you experience when you just show up on their website, because they're, we want to both expand and at the same time protect the OpenSSF.
I think it would be great to have a formal relationship and blog it out and then have an agreement on periods when we share outputs from different things, right? And they have a set of tools that we could reference, and maybe that leads us the path to get the granularity we need to do better things with scorecard and such.
Yeah, I'm happy to reach out to Josh about liaison, specifically between the SIG and them, which Josh is a member, but is very busy and is of the SIG and is not able to come to as many meetings. As for a formal relationship between Proximo and the OpenSSF, that I'd rather leave to people a little higher up than I am. But
yeah, absolutely fine. But I know knowing Jeff and Krober here,
that makes sense.
But I don't want to put action items on their plates.
No, I would say let's engage with them. Let's talk. Maybe there's some synergy. Maybe we get some more contributors here to rewriting the plan. They potentially might get some contributors to their software. I think it's a good collaboration opportunity, and there's nothing stopping us. And again, the more allies that we draft, the more successful we're going to be in implementing our goals of getting things converted to more memory safe methods and languages.
Cool.
Yeah, let me know. I'm glad to help facilitate. Nell already has a relationship, but yeah, my vast resources are at your disposal.
Understood. All right, I'm just going to put a link to Proximo in the notes.
And that includes the hat collection.
Hat collection. Oh, speaking of security, is that a 10-point laser?
Well, that embodies memory safe.
Cool. All right. Makes me think of popcorn. But anyway, okay, cool. All right. Is there anything else anyone would like to
Yeah,
discuss
so
in this meeting?
I propose that we use that for our logo for the SIG, if we ever create one.
I approve this. Cool.
I vote that we use just the image of the Jiffy Pop stove pop thing. And that way people will have to sort of extrapolate a bit to get the connection. It's just a little too obvious.
I could just see I could see our goose with a tin hat on. So anyway.
All right, cool. Anything else besides the logo? that we should
No, just when did you lose control of this meeting? That's what
it implies I ever had it, but
No,
cool.
we like you already, so keep up the good work.
Oh, I'm glad. All right. So anything else memory safety related that we'd like to talk about in this meeting? Otherwise, I have no problem with meetings closing early when the agenda is completed. But we do still have time if anyone has anything else they'd like to discuss.
So what are the next steps coming from this? Another twist on the document?
Yeah, next step is I will put together another draft based on the comments, and I will get it out earlier than the day before the next meeting next time. And we will continue the revision process. After we finish revising the language, I'd like us to identify specific initiatives that we could potentially recommend funding for from the OpenSSF. Krob.
Are we to a point we want to convert this from a GDoc to a delightful GitHub MD file and then manage through PRs?
I do think so.
In 2 weeks, I think there will be the OpenSSF meeting somewhere in Canada. I just learned that this morning through Avicii, so I just wanted to know.
I guess we are 2 weeks out from that. I will not be there, but I know we certainly will have people who are. I'd recommend we potentially do not do a synchronous meeting that week because there's going to be so much going on. So I'll make sure to reach out to staff to cancel that meeting on the calendar. But we can continue asynchronous work. I will get a new draft converted to an MD file in the repo and post a pull request there, and we can comment asynchronously on it.
Okay. Thank you.
Cool. Anything else? Charles, you unmuted, so I'm wondering if...
Just a twitch to say goodbye.
Oh, okay, cool.
No, this is great. This is much more interesting and than I expected. This is great.
I'm glad you're more
What a crowd!
than
What a
you
crowd!
expected.
Well, I mean,
Cool.
think about it. With standards, it's like usually a snooze, but this is much more.
Awesome. Well, if we ever get
useful.
to Snooze Fest, I'll bring my pet bunnies on camera, and everyone can
Bunnies?
aw and wake up that way. Cool. All right. Well,
Where do your pet bunnies call home?
What about my what?
Where do they call home? What part of the country are you?
Oh, I'm in Seattle, Washington.
Oh, okay.
Cool.
I'm on
Awesome.
Mercer Island, and
Quite close.
I don't have pet bunnies, but I now find a few in my yard. So
It's that time of year. Yeah. Although the first round of little young bunnies, and rabbit pregnancies are only 30 days. So there'll be many more litters to come of wild bunnies out there. All right.
Easter
Cool.
gift refugees, perhaps, don't we?
There you go.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.
Thanks.
Talk to you soon. Bye.